Hey guys, I welcome you again to this Python live session series. So, how are you? How's the lockdown been? And I hope everyone is fine. And also, before we start off with the session, if you could just let me know if you guys can see my screen and if you guys can hear my voice. And if all is set, we can start off with the session. And in the meanwhile, we'll also let other people to join in. And in that time, I'd like to tell you folks that we have launched a free learning platform called as Great Learning Academy, where you have access to almost 100 courses with respect to data science, artificial intelligence, digital marketing, statistics, and a lot more. And all of these courses have been curated by industry experts who have their master's or PhD degrees from Ivy League schools. And once you complete these courses, you'd have to either submit an assignment or a project, and you will also get a certificate which you can go ahead and add onto your resume or onto your LinkedIn page, which will be a huge value add to you guys. So, as I've been stating throughout all of my live sessions, I would want this live session to be as interactive as possible. And if you guys have any doubt anywhere or any suggestions, keep them coming in the chat window. And I'll try to take up as many questions as possible. And also, if you guys could let me know in the chat window how many of you folks have attended the first part of this live session series so that I can know how many of you at least know the basics of Python. So in today's session, we were actually supposed to cover flow control statements and functions. So in the previous session, we had finished off with all of the basic Python fundamentals. So we had work with data types, variables. Going ahead, we had looked at operators. After that, we looked at different Python tokens. Then we finally looked at strings. So in today's session, we will start off with data structures in Python. And we've got four primary data structures, which are tuple, list, dictionary, and set. And these are what we'll be covering in today's particular session. And if we have time left, we'll also go through flow control statements and functions, and which shouldn't take a lot of time, I believe. So some of you are stating that it is your first lecture. So what you can do is maybe someone from the moderators could add in a link for the first session so that you guys can go through that video and have an understanding of how to install Python and Anaconda into your systems. And you can thoroughly understand this entire live session series. And also the great thing about this live session series is if you watch all of these 8 live sessions, so if you're a regular attendee for all of these 8 live sessions, you will get a certificate at the end. So that's an incentive for you guys to regularly learn Python, and we have 2 of these sessions every week. And after the first 4 sessions, we will also have a doubt clearing session where it will be a 1-hour doubt clearing session. You can go ahead and put in all of your queries or suggestions with respect to what we've covered in the last 4 sessions, and I will happily take all of those queries up. So now that is clear, what I'd like to do is I'd start off with data structures in Python, and we will look at the first data structure, which is a tuple. So tuple, as it is stated over here, is an ordered collection of elements enclosed within round braces. In the last session, we had work with variables, but the problem with variables is you can only store one value at a time into a variable. Now, what if you would want to store multiple values into a single object? And this is where these 4 data structures come in. So tuple is an ordered collection of elements, and you can store heterogeneous elements inside it, and also tuples are immutable. So what does that mean? When I say tuples are immutable, it means that once you create a tuple, you cannot modify or change the elements which are present in it. And this is how we create a tuple. So we are giving this name of tup1, and inside this we are passing in the values 1, a, and true. So as you see, we have a numerical value, a character value, and a logical value. So you can store heterogeneous elements or elements of different types in a tuple. So let's go to Jupyter Notebook. So for those folks who don't know what a Jupyter Notebook is, this is where you'll be writing all of your Python code. And I will just go ahead and write in tup1, but have to use round braces over here. I'll have 1, then I will pass in a over here, then I will have true, which is a logical value. I will print out tup1. Now if I would check the type of this, so inside the type method I will be passing in tup1, and as you see, we have successfully created a tuple. Now, after creating tuple, we'll see how to extract individual elements out of this tuple. So to do that, this is very similar to what we had done with respect to string. So in Python, you'd have to remember that the indexing starts from 0. So this first element is present at index 0, second element is present at index 1, third element is present at index 2, and so on. So if you would want to extract the first element, you will give in tup1, and in parenthesis you will give in 0, and this is how you are extracting the first element. Now if you would want to extract the last element, you will give in the index of -1. So we are extracting the elements from backwards, and if you would want to extract the elements from backwards, the indexing will be, so here for the last element, index will be -1. For the second last element, the index will be -2. For the third last element, the index will be -3. And since we want the last element, we will give in -1 over here, and we have extracted the last element. Then if you want to extract a sequence of values, so here as you see, I am extracting a, true, and 2. So here a is present at index number 1, then you have true and 2, so 1, 2, 3. Now even though you have given the value of 4 over here, but you are only extracting elements which are present at index 1, 2 and 3. And why is that? Well, the answer is because over here 4 is exclusive, which would mean when you give 4 over here, you will only get elements from 1, 2 and 3, and that is why we get only a, true and 2. So let me go back over here, and what I'll do is I will create another tuple called as tup2, and inside this I will pass in, I'll maybe create 1a, true, then I will have 2b and false. And now that I have created this, let me show you guys how to extract the first element. So I will have tup2 over here. Inside the parenthesis I'll give in 0 because that is present at first element. So this is how I extracted the first element. And if I would want to extract the last element, tup parenthesis, I will give in -1 over here. And you would see that I have extracted the last element from this tuple. Now let's say from this entire tuple I would only want 2 and b. So let's see the index of 2. It will be 0, 1, 2 and 3. So I will write down tup2. The starting value will be 3. Now I want these two. So if I only given 4, I will not get b because 4 is not inclusive. So if I have to include 4 as well, I'd have to give an index number 5. And now you see that I have extracted both the elements 2 and b. And this is how we extract elements from a tuple. Now here you would see that since a tuple is immutable, we cannot modify it. So we are trying to change the value which is present at index number 2. So I'm trying to assign a new value, and as you see I am getting an error over here. So now similarly, if I would try to change this particular value, so I will write down tup2 over here. I would want to change the value which is present at index number 0. I would want to make it 100 instead of 1. You would see that I get this error. Tuple object does not support item assignment, and this is because a tuple is immutable and you cannot change, modify, delete or add a tuple. Great. So let me now head to the chat section, and if let me see if there are any questions. And Guys, I see that we have only 36 likes and we have a watching of 102. Well, you can show us more love by getting the number of likes to 100, as we put in a lot of effort into these courses, and you can show us your love by clicking on that like button. And also, if you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, go ahead, hit the subscribe button and also click on the bell icon, as it will also notify you folks whenever we come up with a new live session. Now let me head to the chat section, and here I see that Gurvinder is asking, can we change tuple to convert into list? Let's actually try that out. What I'll do is I will maybe create a tuple called as tup3 over here, and in tup3 I will have the values 1, 2 and 3. Let's see if I can convert this into a list. So we have this method called as list, and inside this I will pass in tup3, and I will try to store this in a new object called as L1. You would see that we are successfully able to convert a tuple into a list. Now if I print out L1 over here, so you would see if we have a tuple, it is present in round braces. If we have a list, it is present in square braces. So I hope this answers your question, Gurvinder. So we will be able to convert a tuple into a list. Flying Wings is asking, do we cover arrays? Yes, we will have a session on NumPy arrays, and that will be the 4th session, I believe. So this is the 2nd session. In the next session, we'll cover object-oriented programming, and after that, we'll have a doubt clearing session, and then after that, we'll have a comprehensive session on NumPy arrays. Hitesh is asking, can we change the value of a list? Yes, a list is immutable, so we are just only covering tuples now. We will also cover about lists. Just give me a couple of minutes. Vaibhav is asking, can you explain line number 7 again? Sure. So here we had created a tuple called as tup2. Now look at the indexes properly. So the first element, index of this will be 0. Index of this will be 1. Index of this will be 2. Index of this will be 3. Now out of all of these, if I would want to extract 2 and b, we would have to start off by giving the index of this element. So let's see what is the index of this element. So it will be 0, 1, 2 and 3. And as you see over here, I have given 3. And now if I would want to b as well, so the index of b will be 4. But what happens in Python or in general objects with Python is this, the second element over here, or the range, whenever you're giving a range, this final element will be exclusive, which means when you give in 3, you will only get 3. So that is why I would have to give in 5, which would mean that I would extract the element 3 and 4 from this tuple. So this is what is happening. You would need to remember that this initial index is inclusive, this final index is exclusive. And what is exclusive? Exclusivity over here basically means that if you give in 5 or if you give in n, you will get the elements till n minus 1. That is how you can extract elements from this. Tanushri is asking, what is the difference between tuple and list? Just wait for a couple of seconds, guys, because we are only covering tuples. Once we cover this, we will head on to lists and we'll also comprehensively learn about lists. So now that we have covered this, what we'll do is we will have some methods on top of this tuple. If I would want to find out the length of a tuple, I will use the len method. And inside the len method, I will just pass in tuple, and this would give us the value of 6, which means that I have 6 elements present in this list. Then we will see how to combine two tuples. So here you have tup1, and in tup1 I have the values 1, 2 and 3, and in tup2 we have the values 4, 5 and 6. Now this is interesting over here. I've told you guys that once you create a tuple, you cannot modify it. But this is totally opposite of what is happening, isn't it? We are combining this and creating a new tuple. Now how is this possible? Is this tuple suddenly become mutable? That is not what is happening. When I say a tuple is immutable, what I mean is that particular list cannot be modified. So you have tup1 over here and tup2 over here. You cannot modify tup1 or tup2. But you can create a new tuple out of these two tuples, and that is what we are doing over here. So when we have tup1 plus tup2, this resultant is a completely new tuple, and that is why we are able to perform this. Let me just go back. I'll show you what we are doing over here. I will have tup2, and in tup2 I have all of these elements. If I would want to check the number of elements present in this, I will just go ahead and pass in tup2 inside this, and you would see that there are 6 elements present in this. Now after this, I will have 2 more tuples, and this time in tup1 I will only have the values 1, 2 and 3, and in tup2 I will have the values 4, 5 and 6. Now that I create these two tuples, let me try to concatenate the values. So I will have tup1 plus tup2, and when I add them up, what we basically get is we are concatenating. Concatenation over here means that I am attaching the values of tuple 2 at the back end of tuple 1, and this is a totally new tuple. And since this is a totally new tuple, I can go ahead and store this in a new object, and I'm calling this as tup3. So by concatenating these two tuples, I am creating a completely new tuple called as tup3. Going ahead, if we would want to repeat the number of times an element is present inside a tuple, that can be done as well. And here, as you see, all we are doing is we are multiplying this object with this scalar value. So initially in this tuple, we only have two values, which are Sparta and 300. And when I multiply this with 3, you would see that both of these elements have been repeated 3 times. So here we have Sparta 300, Sparta 300 and Sparta 300. Then we can perform repetition and concatenation at the same time. Here in tup1 we have Sparta and 300, in tup2 we have 4, 5 and 6. So we start off by repeating the elements which are present in tup1. So tup1 into 3, over here you would see that Sparta 300 is repeated 3 times. Then I am concatenating 4, 5, 6 at the back end of this. You would see that I have 4, 5, 6 over here. Let me perform these two operations. So now maybe I'll only take tup3 over here, and with the help of this tup3, maybe I would want all of these elements to repeat 5 times. So I will just write down tup3 into 5, and here you would see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this sequence of elements is repeated 5 times. Now if I would want to concatenate something at the back end of this, so what I'll do is maybe I'll just create a new tuple above this. So I'll have a cell above. I will create a new tuple called as tup5, and in tup5 I will have a, true, and 3 plus 4j, which is a complex value. Now that I have created this, what I'll do is I will just have tup3 into 5 plus of tup5. So you would see that I have concatenated tup5 at the back end of tup3. So this is how we can work with a tuple. Then we've got some very basic functions. So if we want to find out the minimum value from a tuple, we can find out the min method. Similarly, if you would want to find out the maximum value in a tuple, we will do that with the help of max method. So let's implement these two, then we will head on to a list. So I have tup1 over here, and from this tup1, if I would want to find out the minimum value, I will pass in tup1. You would see that this is the minimum value. Then if I would want to find out the maximum value, I'll use max, and inside this I'll pass in tup1 again. You would see that the maximum value is equal to 3. So we are done with tuple. now we'll head on to the chat section again. Let me take some more questions. Sajan Bajgai is saying is watching from Kathmandu, Nepal. Lots of love. Thank you very much, Sajan. And this is what encourages us to come up with this high quality content on a regular basis. You know that people from other countries are also following our channel, and people from other countries also appreciate our content. So thank you very much, Sajan, and I hope you spread the love of great learning to your friends, to your peers, to your colleagues, so that everyone has access to this high quality content. Hitesh is asking, will we get a certificate after this course? Yes. So if you regularly attend all of the 8 sessions, then you will get a certificate of completion. So if you guys have missed out on the first session, maybe someone from the moderators team could put in the link for that. You can go ahead and also watch the first session. Or maybe if you're not able to find it, you can go to our YouTube channel and check out for the first session over there. Samuel is saying he's from Ethiopia. That's amazing, Samuel. Chitra is asking, could you tell about libraries in Python? Sure. Well, that would be maybe the 4th or the 5th session. So as you see, this is a series. I would have to go in a sequence. I can't really cover what is not the right context for this particular session, but rest assured, all of the Python libraries will be covered comprehensively in this Python series. Tushar is asking, what is the difference between mutable and immutable? Immutable means that it cannot be changed. And as you have seen with the case of tuple, if I have a tuple, I cannot change the values which are present in a tuple. I can't change them, I can't add new values, and I can't delete existing values. But if you say that some object is mutable, it would mean that you can modify the existing values, you can delete existing values, and you can add new values. So that is what is the difference between mutable and immutable. Tanushri is asking, how much time will this course take to be completed? So this is a 8-week course, and there are 2 doubt clearing sessions. So 8 session course and 2 doubt clearing sessions. So there'll be 10 sessions in total. So it will be a 10-hour course in total. Great. So I'll head back to the chat section later on. And again, guys, we have a watching of 143. We've got only 89 likes. Let's get it to 143 likes immediately. If you could just go ahead, hit on the like button, that will be very much appreciated. And also, if the 143 of you folks haven't yet subscribed, hit the subscribe button and click on the bell icon, and also spread the word of mouth about great learning to your friends, to your peers, and your colleagues. That would be very much appreciated from our side. So now that we are done with list, we will head to the next data structure, which is a list. So a list is an ordered collection of elements which is enclosed within square braces. So a tuple is created with round braces, but a list is created with square braces. And as you see over here, a list is mutable, which means once you create a list, you can change the values which are present in a list. So the way of creating a list is same. You'll just give in a name to this. Now instead of giving round braces, you will give in square braces over here. I can just write down any random value. So I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Let me put in a comma over here and let me print out L1. You would see that the result is present in square braces, and just to verify this, we will have the type method, and inside the type method I will pass in L1, and you would see that this is a list. And now extracting elements from a list is same. So you'd have to give in the index value from this list, and that is how you'll be able to extract values from this list. So from this entire list, let's say if I would want to extract the last element, I would have to give in L1 parenthesis. I will give in -1 over here, and you would see that I have extracted the last element. If I would want to extract the second last element, I would give in -2 over here, and if I would want to extract, let's say, the first element, the index will be 0, and you would see that I have extracted the first element from this list. And now, I've told you that a list is mutable, which means you can change the existing value. So initially, if we have a value of 1 at the index 0, what I can do is I can change the value. So L1 of 0, and instead of 1, I am changing it to 100, and you would see that we have changed it in the result. Similarly, we can add new elements into our list. So here, as you see, with the help of the append method, so L1.append, and when I give in Sparta, you would see that I have added a new element into this list. Now, similarly, I've told you that we can also delete elements from this. So when I use the pop method, you would see that I have removed the last element, which is C, from this particular list. So let's go ahead and modify an element, add an element, and delete an element. So we've got L1 over here. Now, let's say the last element is 7, which is present at index number 6. So instead of having 7 over there, I would want 700. Then let me print out L1. You would see that initially the value is 7. I have changed it to 700. Now I would want to add a new value into this. So I will have L1.append, and I would want to add 1000 as a new element into this. And when I print out L1 over here, you would see that I have also added a new element into this particular list. And if I would want to remove the last element, I can just have L1.pop, and when I print in L1 again, so you'd see that again. So the new element which I had added, that has been popped out, and this is the result which we have over here. Then we have some more methods. So if you would want to reverse the sequence of elements which is present in a list, we can just use the reverse method. So we have L1.reverse over here, and when I print out L1, you would see that. So initially this was the sequence 1A2 3BC, and after reversing it, we've got C3B 2A1. Then if you would want to insert an element at a particular index, we can use the insert method. We have two parameters. First parameter will be the index at which I'd want to insert a new element. The second parameter will be the value which I'd want to insert into this. So you would see that. So initially at index number 1, we had the value A, but I would want to insert this value of Sparta at index number 1. So you'd see that now at index number 1 we have Sparta, and the elements following it have been incremented by one index value. So A, which was initially present at index number 1, is now present at index number 2. 2 over here, which was initially present at index number 2, is now present at index number 3. Similarly, B, so this was 0, 1, 2, and 3. So B was initially present at index number 3. Now it is present at index number 4. So this is what happens. So reverse, insert, then you got the sort method, with the help of which you can sort the elements. So if you have numerical values, then the numerical values will be arranged in ascending order. If you have alphabetical or character values, then they'll be arranged in the dictionary order, which is A to Z. Let's work with these elements over here. I already have L1, and if I would want to reverse the sequence of this elements, I will have L1.reverse. And now let me print out L1. You would see that initially this was the sequence. Now I have reversed the sequence of the elements in this list. And let's say if I would want to insert an element over here. So initially at index number 2, I have the value 5, but I would want to insert something else. So index number 2, I would want to have the value of true over there. Then let me print out L1 again. So you would see that now at index number 2, I have the value true, and the other elements have been incremented by an index value of 1. And after this, we also have the sort method. So I'll go ahead and create a new list called as L2. Now let me pass in some character values over here. So I'll just randomly assign some character values. So we've got H, B, F, A, C, and now if I directly print out L2, this is the result which we would get. And then if I would want to sort this out, I'll just call L1 dot sort on top of this. And when I hit on run, why do we get this error over here? L2 dot sort. So we have created a tuple instead of a list. Let me give in square braces over here. So keep this in mind. If you're creating a list, you'd have to give in square braces and not round braces. And let me print out L2 now. Let me convert this back to code. And now let me print out L2. You would see that. So this was the initial order. Now after using the sort method, I have arranged them in dictionary order. And these are the different things. So we'll also go ahead and look at different list operations. And before that, let me again head back to the chat section, take up some more questions. Tushar is asking, does insert and append function work the same? No. So append inserts the elements at the last. So as you see, when you have append over here, these were the elements. You have inserted the value of 1000 at the last. But if you would want to insert an element at a particular index value, then you will use the insert method. Tanushri is asking, what is the difference between list and dictionary? We'll cover that. So as I've said, we'll cover everything in sequence. Have a little bit of patience. So now that we are covering lists, let's finish that off and then we'll head on to dictionary. Giselle Camden is asking, can we get our avail for the free certificate? You will get the free certificate if you attend all of the 8 sessions. And that is actually a good incentive for you guys to completely learn Python. So we have especially stated that you have to attend all of the 8 sessions because only then you will be able to learn all of the concepts of Python. Aditya is asking, will you teach Django or Pandas? Django will not be covered because it is a web application framework. We'll definitely cover Pandas for sure. So this will be the 6th session, I believe, when we'll be covering Pandas. Chetan is asking, can we get last few videos of learning? So sure, so if someone from the moderators team could add the link of the last session into the chat, that will be great. Right, so again, I'll take up the rest of the questions later on. So now that we have done this, we'll head back to the final operation on lists. And as you see, we can do the same operation. We can concatenate 2 lists and we can repeat the elements which are present in a list. And if we would want to concatenate, the operation is simple. So we have L1 and L2. When we perform L1 plus L2, we will get a completely new list. And here, as you see, I have concatenated or attached the elements of A, B, and C at the back end of 1, 2, and 3. And if I would want to repeat the elements which are present in L1, I can just use L1 into 3 and you would see that I would have multiplied the elements. So let me print out L1 over here and let me also print out L2. Now, I would want to attach L2 at the back end of L1. So I will have L1 plus L2. And you would see that I have attached L2 at the back end of L1. Now if I would want to repeat the elements which are present in this, what I'll do is, so L1 plus L2 into 3. And here, as you see, this entire thing. So from 700 to H, this is being repeated 3 times. So this is how we can concatenate the elements and also repeat the elements at the same time. So this is all about list. So someone in the chat was asking about a dictionary. Now it's time to learn about dictionary. So as you see, a dictionary is an unordered collection of key value pairs enclosed within curly braces. Now we say unordered because you don't have indices in a dictionary. You can't extract or insert elements with the help of an index. Now instead of an index, what we have is a key, and for that particular key you will assign a value, and dictionary is mutable, which would mean that once you insert some elements, you can either modify those elements, or you can delete the existing elements, or you can add new elements into it. So here, as you see, this is how we can create a dictionary. So we have two key value pairs inside this. Apple 10 is the first key value pair. Orange 20 is the second key value pair. And these key value pairs are being separated with a colon over here. So Apple colon 10. So Apple is the key, 10 is the value. We give in a comma, then we give in the second key value pair. We'll have orange colon 20. Orange is the key, 20 is the value. And this is how we create a dictionary. So let me just write down the name of the dictionary as fruit. Let me give in the first key, which is apple, and let's say we've got 10 apples. Then I will give in the second key, which is orange, and let's say we've got 20 oranges, and this is the result which we get. If I would want to check the type of it, inside the type method I will pass in fruit, and you would see that this is of type DICT, which is a dictionary. So we've got keys and values, and if you would want to individually extract the keys or individually extract the values, we can use the keys method or the values method. So here, as you see, when I use fruit.keys, I get this particular result. I am extracting all of the keys. So I've got apples, oranges, bananas, and guavas. So I've extracted all of the keys. Similarly, if I would want to extract the values, I'll just use fruit.values, and over here you would see that I have extracted all of the values. So here, fruit.keys, you would see that I have two keys, which are apple and orange, and that is what I have extracted. And if I would want the values, I'll just use the values method, fruit.values. You would see that I have extracted 10 and 20. And since a dictionary is mutable, we can modify a dictionary. So as you see in this particular dictionary over here, I am adding a new key value pair. So initially we had only 4 key value pairs. I am adding a new or a 5th key value pair like this. So I'll give it the name of the dictionary. Inside parenthesis, I'll give in a new key. And this time the key is mango, and the value which I'm assigning it is equal to 50. And as you see, I have added this new key value pair. And if I would want to change an existing key value pair, that also can be done. So as you see over here, I have an existing key value of apple 10. But let's say I would want to change the quantity from 10 to 100. All I do is given fruit, apple, and I assign the value of 100. You would see that initially the value is 10. Now we have modified the value to 100. So we will go ahead and add some additional elements into this. So fruit, we've got only 2 elements right now. I would want to add 2 more elements into this. So we've got apple, orange. I would want to add a banana as well. And let's say we've got 30 bananas. Then I would also like guava. And let's say I go ahead and take in 40 guavas. Now, if I print out fruit over here, you would see that I have added 2 new key value pairs, banana 30 and guava 40. Now, if I would want to change an existing value, so let's say instead of 40 guavas, I would need 100. I can just have fruit. Inside the parenthesis, I will give in the key, which is equal to guava. Then I am changing the value from 40 to 100. And when I print out fruit, you would see that I have changed the value from 40 to 100. And this is how we can work with it. Over here, so this is similar to the append operation or the concatenate operation which we were performing with the list and the tuples. So here, fruit 1 is our first dictionary. We've got apple 10, orange 20. Fruit 2 is our second dictionary. We've got banana 30, guava and 40. Now if I would want to update all of the elements of fruit 2 into fruit 1, I can use the update method. So here as you see, I have fruit 1 dot update, and inside this I will pass in fruit 2 over here, and you would see that I have appended or concatenated the values of fruit 2 to fruit 1. Then since again this is mutable, I can remove out a key value pair. So let's say I don't like oranges, then all I have to do is use the pop method. Inside the pop method, I will give in this key which is orange, and you would see that I have popped out orange from this entire fruit section. So I've got this fruit. Now what I'll do is I will create a new dictionary called as vegetable, and I will add some vegetables over here. So let's say I have tomato. I've got 10 tomatoes. Then I've got a potato, and I've got 20 potatoes. Then I have capsicum, and I have 30 capsicums with me. So I've created this. So seems like I'd have to assign this, use an equal to operator over here. So now that I have created this dictionary, what I want to do is I would want to update this with this over here. So I will have fruit dot update, and inside this I will pass in vegetable, and I will store it in maybe a new object called as fruit vegetable. And when I print out fruit vegetable over here, you would see that why don't we have anything over here? Or maybe what I'll do is I'll just remove this entire thing over here. I'll only have fruit dot update of vegetable. I'll print out fruit for you guys, and you would see that I have updated. So this is our first dictionary, which is fruit. So I have updated this fruit dictionary with the values of this vegetable dictionary as well. So we've got apple, orange, banana, guava, and we've also got tomato, potato, and capsicum. Now from this fruit dictionary, let's say I don't really like potatoes much, so I'll just have fruit dot pop. Inside this I will give in potato, and you would see that we have popped out the value of 20, which basically means I have popped out this entire key value pair. And then when I print out fruit, you would see that we don't have potato 20 in this particular dictionary. So this is how we work with dictionaries, and we are left with one final data structure for today, which is a set. So we'll learn about that, and before we go to that, again it's time to head to the chat section, take up some more questions. And guys, again we have watching of 157, we've got only 122 29 likes, so let's get that. And what I say is, if we have a watching of 150, then we would need at least 200 likes, because you have people joining and leaving. So I'd suggest that we would need at least 30% more likes than how many people are watching. So if you guys could get the number of likes to 150 or 160 immediately, that would be much appreciated. And also, if you haven't yet subscribed to the session, go ahead, click the subscribe button, click the bell icon, and also if you love our sessions, you can go ahead and tell about Great Learning, all of these live sessions, to your friends, to your peers, to your colleagues, so that even they can upskill themselves in this period of lockdown. Even they can get all of these certificates in this lockdown, so that everyone can go ahead and add those certificates onto their resume or onto their LinkedIn page. So I'll take up some questions now. Pawan Kumar is asking, does dictionary support indexing? No, dictionary doesn't support indexing. So that is why a dictionary is called as an unordered data structure. So let me go back over here. You would see that is an unordered collection of key value pairs, because you don't have indices over here. But instead of indices, you have keys. So if you want to extract a value, you will give in the key, and that is how you will extract the elements. I'm just going through some of your questions, folks. So I see that most of your questions are asking for the link of the first session. So if someone from the moderator team could just add in the link for the first session, that will be great. Vidya is asking today's which day of the live session. So this is the second day. And in the first day, we had installed Python and whatever other IDs we had required, and we had covered some basic Python fundamentals. And in today's session, we are covering all of the basic data structures which are there in Python. Sonali Kumari is asking if we want to change the keys of more than one value at a time, how can we do that? So this is actually an interesting question. So let's see if we can perform this. Now what I would want to do is I've got this fruit dictionary over here. Maybe I will give in apple, then I will give in orange as well over here. Let me try and see if this can be done or not. So for apple I'll give in 100 and for orange I'll give in 200. So it seems like this can actually be done over here. And what have we done over here? So okay, so what we've basically done is we have added a new key and we have added these values to this new key. So it seems like we can't really, we can't really change multiple keys at the same time. Let me try and put this like this and see if that works. Let me cut this out and let me paste it inside this. What have I done over here? So inside this I will just have apple, and after apple I'll have orange. Nope, so it seems like we cannot do it. So multiple items can't be assigned values at the same time. That was an interesting question actually. Vasavi is asking, is this a weekly recursion session on every Friday? So we have 2 sessions every week. So if you would want to find out the exact schedule, you can go to Great Learning Academy and find out the schedule for this. Rakhi is asking, can we find a length of a list? Absolutely. So I believe I've already performed this. And if you've not seen it, let me just show you again. Let me create a list called as L1 again. Maybe I'll just pass in 1, 2, and 3 inside this. And I will just use len, and inside len, if I have L1, you would see that we get the value of 3, which is the length of this particular list. So you can definitely find out the length of list. Hitesh is asking, what is the difference between Python and Java in programming? Well, interesting question. So Python and Java are both object-oriented programming languages, but I'd say both of them have their own use cases. So where Java comes in is mostly with respect to enterprise development. So there's always this question of, will Python replace Java? And the answer would be no. Or maybe if the question is rephrased, if Java will beat Python sometime, the answer again is no, because both of them have their own use cases. Java is mostly used for enterprise projects. So if you are working on a huge project, and you'd mostly go with Java, as it is more secure. But let's say if it is more of artificial intelligence oriented or data science oriented or data wrangling oriented, then you'll go ahead with this language called as Python. Anita is asking, can we pop the last but one item in the list? Let's actually see that. I have, let's say, L1. Let me see if we can do something over here. Let me take this as code. If I have L1, let me see if this works or not. L1 dot remove, if I given 1 over here, let me have L1. So seems like we can do this. Let's say if I L1, if I given 2 over here, L1 dot remove. Now if I have L1 over here, so this is how you can remove elements, a particular element from a particular list over here. You'll just get directly given the element and that value will be removed from a list. Pawan is asking what is the difference between PySpark and Python. Python is the language. So Spark mostly comes in with big data analytics. So if you want to perform real-time analytics with huge amounts of data, that is when Spark comes in, and Spark can be implemented with multiple languages. So you have Spark can be implemented with Scala, Spark can be implemented with R, and Spark can also be implemented with Python. So when you're implementing the Spark concepts with Python, that is known as PySpark. Great. So we'll head back to the session right now. We've only got set, and guys, I see that we've got 147 likes and us watching of 163. Guys, this is sad. Why do you do this? If you can just go ahead and hit the like button, that will be very much appreciated. And I believe that's the least you guys can do. So if you could just go ahead, take your finger, click on the like button over there, it will provide us a lot of love, it will provide us a lot of support. Great. So in the meanwhile, when you're liking the video, let me start off with set. So what exactly is a set? So set is an unordered and unindexed collection of elements which is enclosed within curly braces. Now, I say that this is an unordered and unindexed collection of elements, which would mean that the sequence of inserting does not remain in a set. And this is how we create a set. So we have passed in the values over here. And another thing to keep in mind is duplicates are not allowed in a set. So it would mean that if you give in two values and both of the values are same, you'll get only one value out of that. So we will create a set. Let me actually start off by creating a set for you guys. So I'll have this set called as S1. Now what I'll do is I will have these values over here. So I have 1 being repeated multiple times, 2 being repeated multiple times, and 3 being repeated multiple times. And here you would see that even though I've got 1 3 times, 2 4 times, and 3 4 times, I've only got 1, 2, and 3 because a set will only take in unique values. Now, let's say there is also another interesting thing over here. Let's say if I have S1 is equal to 1, comma true over here, then if I print out S1, I get only 1. Now why is this happening? Because true is a logical value, and when you convert that, so Python internally converts true and false into 1 and 0. So the value of true is equal to 1 and the value of false is equal to 0. So when you pass in 1 and true, since it will be 1 and 1, you'll only get this result over here. Now let's say instead of false, if I have false over here, this time you would see that I have false and 1. But now if I add in 0 in this, so this is interesting. So as you see, this time 0 is coerced into false. Let me change the sequence over here. So let's say if I have 1, 0, false. So you would see that false is coerced to 0. So the order of insertion also matters. Let me show this to you guys again. So if I have 1, false, 0, then 0 is coerced to false. But on the other hand, if you have 1, 0 and false, then in that particular case, false is coerced to 0. So these are some interesting insights about a set. Then, since a set is mutable, we can add new elements or we can modify the existing elements which are present in a set. So here we will use s1.add, and using s1.add I am passing in this new value called as hello. And since a set is an unordered and unindexed collection of elements, the order of insertion is not maintained. So here you would see that hello is inserted at a random position in this particular set. Now similarly, if I would want to add multiple elements, I can use the update method. So I'll have s1.update, and using this I have passed in a list of elements, and you'd see that the values are equal to 10, 20 and 30. And similarly, if I would want to remove a particular element, I can just have s1.remove, and I'll give in the element which I'd want to remove. So here I'm giving in B, and you would see that B is removed from this particular list. So I have S1 over here. Now I would want to add a new element. So S1 dot add. I would want to add A inside this. Then I will print out S1. You'll see that I have successfully added this new element. Now I would want to add a sequence of elements or multiple elements inside this. So if I would want to add multiple elements, I will use the update method. And in the update method, maybe I'll pass in a list of elements. So this time I will have, let's say, a complex value 3 plus 4j. Then I will have a character which is Sparta. Then maybe I'll just have a simple number which is 12. After this, if I print out S1, you would see that I have inserted 3 plus 4j, Sparta and also 12. And you would see that the order of insertion is totally random because the set is unordered and unindexed. Then if you would want to remove an element, so I'll just have s1 dot remove, and from all of these elements I would want to remove, let's say, the complex value. So I'll just write down 3 plus 4j, and if I print out s1 over here, you would see that this element has been removed from this entire set. And then we have two interesting operations over here. So we have two sets. So in set 1 we have the elements 1, 2 and 3, and in set 2 we have the elements A, B and C. And if you want to combine the elements of S1 and S2, so again you can consider this to be analogous to the concat method which we were performing with the list and the tuple. So when I have S1 dot union of S2, you would see that I have concatenated the values of A, B and C at the back end of 1, 2 and 3. Similarly, if I would want to find out the common elements between two sets, I have the intersection method. So in S1 I have all of these elements from 1 to 6, and in S2 I have all of these elements from 5 to 9. And now when I use S1 dot intersection S2, you would see that I get the result is 5, 6, because these are the two common elements which are present in this particular set. So I'll just create two sets over here. In S1 I'll have 1, 2, 3. In S2 I will have 4, 5 and 6. Now that I have created these two, I want to combine these two. So I'll have S1 dot union. I'll pass in S2 over here. And you would see that I have concatenated 4, 5 and 6 at the back end of S1. After this, I would want to find out the unique values. So let's say in S1, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And over here, I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So I have created, or I've basically run this cell again. Now I would want to find out the common values. So it will be S1 dot intersection of S2. And you would see that the common elements between S1 and S2 are 4, 5 and 6. So guys, we have covered all of the basic data structures in Python today, which were tuple, list, set and dictionary. And I hope you have comprehensively learned with respect to all of these, and this session was helpful. So I'll just come back to the chat section and see if there are any more questions. Akshita Reddy is asking if there are any job opportunities in Hyderabad for Python. Well, see, the great advantage of learning Python is it's a versatile language. So if you learn Python, it can be used for web application, it can be used for general purpose development, it can be used for game development, it can be used for machine learning purposes. So what I recommend is start learning Python, and once you have expertise in it, you can start applying to different types of jobs, and always there is requirement for Python in any of the major cities. So you'll definitely have requirement for Python in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Delhi, Pune, or so on. Adventures of Motu Patlu was saying, sir, please PyCharm use karo. Well, I personally prefer Jupyter Notebook over PyCharm, but that totally comes down to the user. So there's no such hard and fast rule that you'd have to only use this particular ID. Since I prefer Jupyter Notebook more than PyCharm, I use Jupyter Notebook. And if you're more comfortable with PyCharm, then you can go ahead and use PyCharm. Pawan Kumar is saying that he needs training on PySpark. Well, currently we don't have any courses on Apache PySpark, but we are working on a lot of new content, and we'll keep this in mind and see if we can work on this as well. So when is the next class? I'm not really sure. You guys can check the details of the next class on Great Learning Academy. So on Great Learning Academy, you will get the detailed schedule of all of the upcoming live sessions. Saurabh is asking, can we opt for offline classes for data science from Great Learning? Well, right now the classroom classes are on hold because of the lockdown and COVID-19 situation. So classroom sessions are not really going on now, but if you want to enroll for the online course, you can check out the website and see if that's helpful to you. Great. So the same question, most of you guys are asking when is the next session. So you guys can head to Great Learning Academy. So again, if someone from the moderator team can put out when is the next session, that will be helpful to all of today's attendees. And guys, before we sign off, we've got 183 likes. Let's just make it to 200 so that this video is more reachable, because it's the YouTube algorithm. So if a video gets more likes, it is more visible to other folks. And if you like the content, all we are asking is to hit the like button and hit the subscribe button, because we will be much more visible to a larger part of the world, and our aim is to reach everyone across the world and provide them with high quality education, because we believe that high quality education should be given for free or at a very less cost for everyone who can't afford it. So thank you very much for attending the session, guys, and let's meet in the next one. Thank you. Hope you're keeping safe.